At some point, I got tired of these dovetail couplings. They have several problems. One, they get droopy so that they're not in the right plane, like this one is droopy. The other thing that happens is they break. And then what do? Well, I've had a lot of them break. Some of them on locomotives. Well, what am I going to do there? So here's my solution. And I've done this to many, many of my rolling stock. And it works. It's solid. I've never had one break. I just cut this guy off. You can use your Zurons too. They work pretty good. I just got these. These are new. I paid about $7 for them. Very cheap, but very good flush cutters. So after you got that thing cut off, that dreaded gizmo, then you have to file and make sure it's pretty smooth, but you need to rough it up too. I mean, you could use sandpaper. I just used my little file. Make sure you've got plenty of rough surface for the glue to grab onto. But it's all roughed up. If it's not rough enough, drag a knife over it and make some grooves so that you got a good surface for glue to stick to. You're also going to need a little piece of plastic card. This is styrene. It's 30 thousandths. And I just cut a little strip of it. And it's more of a spacer than anything else, but it does give you a certain amount of flexibility for positioning. And positioning is important with your couplings because the geometry is calculated or is estimated. Some of them it's estimated, but the geometry is designed for a certain position of the coupling to the wheels. And then, the other wagon or coach or whatever is hooked up to it and its geometry so that it all works together. Well, most of the time. And the next thing you need to do is to rough up your little plastic spacer. Your plastic spacer does a couple of things. One, it needs to be spaced up. This is a piece of sandpaper. And I'm just roughing it up too because I'm going to glue to it on both sides. And for super glue to really stick to plastic, it needs to have a pretty rough surface. Now you can do this with the file too. Might be easier to do the whole sheet before you cut it up. Although I'm never that smart. I always wind up doing it this way. If you liked the video, how about giving me a thumbs up? And if you're not subscribed, how about subscribing so you can find out about all my videos when they come out? Make sure you get both sides, because if you leave this styrene smooth, the super glue will let go eventually. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So now we put a little super glue on here. I buy these nozzles in bulk. They last a while, but they don't last forever. Then I put this spacer on there. And then you have to prepare the little NIM pocket. These are from spares that I've purchased. You cut that little, whatever it's called, off of it, the annoying part. And then you file the top off. And you can usually tell where the top is because it has a little, well, there's two ways to tell. One, it has, the Bachmann ones have this little, I don't know what you would call that, a little ramp. It's got this little nub right there. And that's the top. In other words, it goes up. Or, down if the car is up, if the wagon's upside down. And you have to grind that off to make this all work. You have to grind that off. And when you do, that's one of the reasons you need this spacer, to get everything back to the right height. There's another way to tell which way is the top, and that's to look at it from this end. And you see one side is thinner than the other. One side is fatter than the other. Well, the fat side, that's on the bottom. The fat side's on the bottom. So the side you want to grind down and put your surface on is what on the upper side. So I just use my file again. Let me get this out of the road. And I just grind that down. Give me a good tooth for that glue to dig into and hold on to. And I like to go both ways. I was filing across it, now I'm filing in this direction, to make sure it's got a good surface. And if you're not sure it's good enough, just make some hash marks with your knife. Just drag the blade across it. Make some hash marks. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to glue this dude on here. So we've already roughed up the plastic, and we want to take a look and see what the other end is like to judge the distance. What you want to do is you want to look at both ends and see where this the location of the end of the little NIM pocket is. In this case, it's just a little bit beyond the edge of the wagon. And don't worry about the card, because we can cut that off later. So when we get it glued on there, we're going to want it about right there. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to try to line up the coupling pocket, or the NIM pocket, so that it's about the same distance out as the other side that's undisturbed. So the edge of the wagon is about right here underneath my tweezers. And that's where we're going to want this one to be, about right there. And you want to try to get it on the center line if you possibly can. That's probably a little too far. There, that would be perfect, but there's no glue on it. Let's put some glue on it. Let's get on with this. And I'm going to use some accelerator. but I'm not going to spray it on there because I don't like the mess it makes. So what I do is I put a little in the cap. I spray a little down into the cap, and I have a little sacrificial toothbrush or paintbrush, and I just dab it on there. It doesn't take much, and it'll get that super glue to set up. The only problem you'll have is that it will gum up your brush. So what I do is I just pull it off of there as it's setting up. We'll let that set up. It won't take but a minute or two here, and we can put this coupling back in there. Actually, I think we'll trim that off first. Now that we can paint black. I've got some Umbro black acrylic, and stuff works great. Paint that up so that you don't have any white showing. And there you go. Okay, we'll let the paint dry. In the meantime, I'll go wash out my brush. By then it'll be time to put the coupling in. So back in 3 minutes or so. Well, the paint's not fully dry, but we can go ahead and put this back in. I'm pretty sure the glue is solid. Yeah, glue is very solid. Now, we've got a coupling on there that's never going to droop or fall out, and the beauty of it is you've got an in pocket, and you can put any kind of coupling you want in there. KD couplings, Hunts, whatever you want. Stick them in there, and it'll all be good. So that's what I do, and I must have 50 that I've done so far. And my intent is to do them all before I'm done. Here's a couple examples of couplings that are glued on. That's one. This one still has the original on the other end, but this one was broke or was droopy, or anyway, it got replaced. Here's two that are glued.